There's a lot to be said about being part of the trucking industry. There are so many moving parts to consider. From the guy out at the warehouse in western Pennsylvania loading up that 53-foot dry van with a rooftop air handler destined for Salt Lake, to the driver pulling that load with his pressed out 379 Pete powered by an old Cat 3406. Brokers working the phones connecting loads to drivers, the dispatchers orchestrating driver positioning, shops maintaining equipment, maximizing uptime, truck stops that provide shelter and rest when a driver can find a parking spot. Even the driver's family plays a pivotal role in his or her success out on the road. It's not an easy life by any stretch of the imagination. If you're listening to this program currently, none of this comes as a surprise to you. This program is built to inform and at times entertain. It will have guests from all walks of trucking life, from those behind the wheel on up to the C-suite. Folks from the emerging technology that's guiding the future of freight and those old hands to remind us of trucking's colorful past. This is James Crowley, better known as Tex. Join me as we grab a thermos full of hot coffee, shut that left door, and head on out to the big road.
Fooled you a bit, didn't I? Welcome to the April Fool's Day 2022 edition of the Overdrive Radio podcast. I'm Todd Dills, and the voice you heard narrating an intro to a brand new podcast there was none other than James Crowley. As noted, out now with the intro episode of The Big Road. I caught up with Crowley and so many more of you out at the Mid-America Trucking Show this past week, where the mood was mixed, let's say, given growing cost pressures on owner-operator business, declining rates, and some softening of overall freight demand. Yet, as we've shared this week via coverage of the show, particularly from our Partners in Business seminar series with ATBS, there are plenty of indications that demand for owner-operators and small carrier services stand to remain high for some time. As for Mr. Crowley, he was kind enough to share his new podcast first episode with us for this Overdrive Radio edition, and we'll get to the balance of that in the end for sure, including a brief talk with him about his former driving career that inspires it. Before we get there, though, look at one among scads of new transportation management systems geared toward the smallest of carriers popping up around the trucking technology landscape.
George Thellman from Rand Transportation Solutions. Our product is Lynx TMS out of Toledo, Ohio.
Lynx. That's Lynks. It's targeted not only to small carriers, but to shippers and brokers as well, as a way to grease the skids for dispatch management, invoicing for collections, management of supporting documents out on the road for drivers utilizing the associated Lynx app, and more. Like I intimated, it joins a growing subset of the big TMS software market, including the recent command system from the Trucker Path company, among many others that are geared towards speeding up the digital handoff between carriers and their customers, and operators in the field, of course. There's utility there, as George Thellman will explain, for one-truck independents, and particularly those who want to set themselves up with back-office tools as they grow beyond that one truck. Lynx is a product of RAN, R-A-N, that is, RAN Transportation Solutions.
So Rand Transportation Solutions was founded by a Raj, R-A-J, Anthony, that's Anthony Tomasi, and Ned, those are the three partners, so R-A-N.
And they have trucking operations as well.
Well, one of them does. Anthony Tomasi owns Get Go Transport and Go Logistics, the fleet and brokerage. Raj is our CTO, and then Ned is our managing partner, the financier.
I caught up with George Thellman at the Doc 411 booth in the crowded West Wing at Matt's. In search of a bit of a more quiet place to talk, we ducked outside, where we found the hangers-on at Matt's, the Sparrows of the Kentucky Exposition Center. They'll be along for the ride for my talk with Thellman, so apologies for any undue interruptions. Always amazing the volume that such a small animal can produce, wouldn't you say? Lynx has integrated Doc 411's shipper-receiver facility information system into its app for drivers, allowing for detailed information access, location of truck entry points, parking availability, user reviews, and the like, for sites all across the nation. Here's how the integration and partnership came to be, as Thelman tells it, making reference to Doc 411 leader Eric Wheeler.
Oddly enough, actually, our CEO had lunch with Eric.
Okay.
They both live in Chicago.
Yeah, right.
And one of our founding partners says, you should go check them out because we use them in their trucking fleet. So we're like, well, it makes sense. If we're trying to cater to the small guy and they need this information, why not? It just makes sense.
On the other side of a quick break for a word from Overdrive Radio's sponsor, we'll pick right back up with Thelman, the Lynx TMS, and the birds of the Kentucky Exposition Center, as it were. So keep tuned.
First Guard provides commercial truck insurance to leased owner-operators done right, as we've done for more than 80 years. We provide physical damage and non-trucking. Many companies make you pay up to 6 months of insurance premiums up front, but not First Guard. We bill monthly, so you get quality insurance without needing to pay a lot of cash up front. Go to firstguard.com. That's 1stguard.com. First Guard. We speak trucker. Let's talk.
One of our founding partners is a fleet himself as well as a broker, and saw the need that the small guys don't get the same handshake from a digital provider as the enterprise level people do. So for the last 2.5 years, we've been developing Lynx TMS to bring all the needs of the trucking company needs to do, but not have to spend an arm and a leg to get, and going beyond the normal TMS. Right, so we're not just carrier centric. We also can have a broker piece and shipper piece. So the orders can be generated from them and sent directly to the carrier. But a carrier can can create loads and dispatch loads without the other parties. But it can be even more transparent if they had their partner from a shipper included as well as a broker. A shipper can have a network of 5 carriers on Lynx, create a load, assign it to all 5, and the first one to tender it will get it, while the other 4 will get a notification it's no longer available. But it keeps the seamless transition from order inception to invoicing all on one platform. One advantage for one, we created our solution to be mobile web-based, mobile app, SaaS. So you can download the application from iOS or Android, but it also has the desktop version. Because of that, we're able to cater to the small guys and not have to come downline. We can go upline with you. You can grow with us. And we're also bringing in the imaging into our product, so you can take a picture of the bill of lading, get e-signature, and they'll be stitched to the invoice when you submit it through our application. We've partnered with factoring companies, so it's integrated within our application, so it goes right to the factoring company. Tracking of the load is done via GPS location, so you don't have to get a third-party vendor to provide visibility of where the load is. And that's all within the one application, one price. And then we're also building out the Lynx community of these other pieces like health and wellness, teledoc, and so forth.
We talked about that, and then kind of a social function too, I think.
Yeah, so obviously
team building kind of function.
Yeah, you also will be able to deep link into your other apps like social media and so forth. But we'll also have that driver communication piece. So again, like you say, team building within. So you can share notes, as well as some of our partners bringing visibility to the different locations. So Doc 411, we will be integrating with them. So when you're looking at your current load, you can pull up the information of the shipper's location or the receiver, so you know how to get to the loading dock, if they have showers available, restrooms, or even parking, and also if they have a lumper, because you want to know all this stuff before you get there, not when you're there, and be able to get it right through our application.
I asked Thelman about the factoring companies he mentioned that are integrated within the Lynx TMS.
Our 2 main ones right now are Love's Travel Stops and Orange Community Credit. So we have those fully integrated, and those should go live mid-April. The application we go live, commercially live, April 1st. We've been in pilot since the beginning of the year. We have about 35 drivers using it currently. It is through several different fleets, and we've invoiced about almost 300 loads since the beginning of the year through that. So tried and true, ready to go, and And like I said, it's available commercially April 1st, like I said. For your carrier, office user, your broker, and shipper is $49 a month per user, and then your drivers are $15 for the driver piece. And that's per month, no contract, just pure SaaS.
That's SaaS, SaaS, software as a service, a term I know many of you are familiar with.
And one of our biggest pieces there is our referral program, even for the users. So a carrier that's a one-man band owner-operator, it's $49 for him to run his business, including the driver, because we understand that he or she might be the only one that runs the business and drives. If they refer 10 of their friends just like them, Links is free. We give 10% back to them of the monthly subscription, because we're all about giving back to the drivers, especially the little guys that need that extra, for their margins.
Yeah, I mean, you do see this as useful even to that one truck guy. I guess the ability to just kind of create those invoices with a single process. I see that as kind of the principal business.
Well, yeah, I mean, just also being able to play, with that single guy, being able to play with the big guys digitally and get paid faster because they're not having to worry about where is all these documents. It's right there. But also, that one guy always is in the business model to grow.
Yeah, right, sure.
Right? It's easy to do manual labor, manual, order entry and so forth as one driver. But if we get to 5, 10, 15,
it's harder and harder.
It gets harder and harder. And this will be able to help them grow without breaking the bank at the beginning.
If you're going to be running independently with an intent to expand in the future, a product like this, in other words, might take you far in terms of speedy invoicing and process management with long-term freight partners, whether that's a trusted broker or shipper you're contracted to. And I know many in Overdrive's audience these past couple of years have taken their hauling business in that very direction, taking advantage of the freight chaos to lock down solid contracts with a preferred partner or partners on regular lanes. Depending on just who that customer is, solid partners could be good insurance against the inevitability of a freight downturn, which some watchers out there see us headed for right now, though demand for owner-operators does remain high in general terms compared to pre-pandemic years. You can in fact see some cooling in spot rates for vans and reefers, though, since the beginning of the year, more marked since late February, early March, and the explosion in fuel prices. Flatbed seems to be holding strong for the moment. What are you seeing? Furthermore, when it comes to TMS software, I'll be looking more closely at the state of the market for small fleet-focused products in the very near future. If you're using a system to success, tell me about it. Click on my name at any of the posts at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio, and you'll find direct contacts in my bio there. I asked George Thellman what he'd heard about the Links product's functionality for owner and driver users since the trial period started.
Basically, they always thought that they can do things manually with, Google spreadsheets and email and text messages. But now that they're using our app, they're like, man, I wish we would have done this sooner.
Right.
Because it is giving them the opportunity to get paid faster. Even if it is a 90-day term, it used to take 7 days to get that invoice out. Now it's instantaneous. So it's really 90 days, not 97 days. And the factoring companies love the fact that we're sending them one file with all the supporting documents and the rate con, so they're not, again, having to parse everything. It's all one file.
An imaging function within the driver app makes it pretty simple to correctly categorize and link and sign documents associated with any load.
Correct, yeah, not just the proof of delivery or bill of lading, any scale tickets, lumper receipts, anything that needs to be documented could be, you can flag it as billable, so it should be added to the invoice, or non-billable, so it's just there for record keeping for your business, which we have an accounting piece built in, so you can then print out your P&L statements that can be then sent to your accountant or then absorbed by another accounting system. At this current point, we don't have OCR.
What is that?
OCR, that's optical character recognition.
Okay, yeah.
Currently, we don't have that, but because the rates are being built within the already contract rates that you have set up with that rate con, it's just the supporting document.
Yeah.
Our website is links2go.com. That's LYNKS, the number 2, go.com. So we're trying to make this a links community, not a one-off, right? So
Here's a big thanks to George Thellman. You gotta love the birds of the Kentucky Exposition Center, eh? Okay, shifting gears here to the Texas Media Foundry of James Crowley and his team of videographers and audio specialists, and ultimately, the personal story of the main man behind the camera. He came off the road some years ago to pursue video full-time. Crowley is steeped in trucking, and his new Big Road podcast you can expect big things from, at least judging by the quality of the first episode, as you heard a little at the top of today's episode of Overdrive Radio. Minus those pesky birds, of course. I caught up with Crowley at Matt's, festooned with video gear, during a brief break from his work, in part for the Mid-America Trucking Show itself. You'll hear some of the results of that talk in what follows, including the theme from the first episode, right now. Here we go.
Got a new podcast. It's called The Big Road Podcast, and I can't say it's a show about nothing because that's already a thing. That's Seinfeld, but we may not be as comical as Seinfeld, but we're going to talk trucking. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk with other truck drivers, past and present, stories from the road, things of that nature, individuals that may or may not be truck drivers, but they're in the trucking industry. They may have something they want to get out there. It's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be just easy going, I guess you could say. But yeah, every other Wednesday, and they're going to be anywhere from 15 to 30 to 45 minutes long. It just depends on the content and how much people want to talk.
Right.
Trucking musicians, if they want to do their thing and send a track over and, it's cleared and we can use it, throw that on there. Talk to other creatives in the trucking space and see what they've got to talk about.
I asked Crowley just how he came to this point, too, from a one-man video show to a team of people right there alongside of him, working for a variety of customers. As with so many things these days, he traces the expansion back to, what else? COVID. Out of fashion, anyway.
First part of 2020 is like right about when we said, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to assemble a team, and then everything just kind of ground to a halt. There was a curve that we tried to catch, and we didn't actually catch it that well. It was the whole live video format, and we could have marketed ourselves a little bit better and got a little bit more done with that. But still, we survived. We're here, and things are good. We are glad Mid-America Trucking Show is back. That's where we're at right now, and being able to actually assist the show this year. They've seen some of the things that we have made over the past few years and said, hey, we know you attend the show. How about you do a little bit of stuff for us, kind of as a trial run, see what you can pull off. And, we'll have further conversations later in the year and maybe add to 2023. So, but the core of the business, we'll shoot anything. We just shot something for an overhead door company back home. We do general video stuff, but trucking related is really where it's at for me because
you're a driver or were.
I still have a CDL, still have a medical card. You just never know, but I worked really hard to get it. Why not spend a few dollars and keep myself somewhat fit to continue with. There could be a job where they're like, hey, we want you to be the guy behind the wheel for a video job. Okay, I can do that. I'm okay with that. It's a growing business. There's a lot going on with it, and I'm just happy to be here. So Tex, what's your trucking story? Well, I'll tell you. It all started as a warehouse guy at the once self-proclaimed entertainment capital of Texas, Six Flags Over Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It was 1992, and I was 18 years old. We had a delivery of arcade games, about 10 to 12 stand-up game cabinets, and one oversized racing game. Being that the racing game was to be placed just inside the front entrance of the park, we asked the driver if he'd be kind enough to drive around to the front of the park so we could offload it there. He obliged and then said, "Which one of you boys wants to ride with me and help guide me to the entrance?" I immediately said, "Sure." At this point, I'd never been in a truck. That short half-mile trip changed the course of my future. I knew what I wanted to get into, and that was trucking. Okay, the episode is unfortunately just me. And I've got a few people that have shown interest to come on the program, and that'll be great when I get a hold of them after I decompress from this show. But it's an intro that's going to be a couple minutes long and about 5 minutes of me talking about who I am, where I came from, just, howdy, here I am. Right. That's really all it is. It's about 6-7 minutes long total. I'm doing the editing right now. I'm about to hand that off to a junior editor that we just hired. She's going to watch the process and go where she gets sound design elements. We have subscriptions to all kinds of sounds, and show her how to layer it in. I'm not an audio guy. Some people think I am, but I have to get critical audio for different things, and I just get it right every time. But
you can do it.
I can do it. I can do it. It's not a primary thing for me, but I do know what I like to hear. I do know the sound I like. Going from you guys and Over the Road podcast and all of that. That's I like to try to emulate that the best I can.
Crowley referred there to Overdrive's co-production with Radiotopia, that was the Over the Road podcast, with expert sound designer Ian Koss manning the production. I'd say Tex is doing pretty well. We'll let his trucking origin story take us out to the end.
I knew what I wanted to get into, and that was trucking. Soon after that experience, I went to work as a dockhand at Overnight Transportation over in Dallas. A whopping $8 an hour for 30 hours a week of work to load and unload trucks. That was a heck of a pay bump. I spent 3 years there, went to full-time, then full-time yard jockey moving trailers to and from the dock, as well as hooking up and breaking down sets of 28-foot pup trailers, or doubles. 21 years old, I left Overnight to get my CDL at Conway Southern Express over in Fort Worth. Spent a couple of years working local P&D and did the occasional line haul trip. I've also spent time at KLLM in Jackson, Mississippi. Worked for 3 years at Celadon and a combined decade of pulling windows out of Bryan, Texas for Ryder and Cardinal Logistics. I hung the keys up about 5 years ago, but I still have my CDL and maintain my medical card because you just never know. It was difficult enough to get in the first place. I'm still connected to the industry by creating video content for industry trade shows such as the Mid-America Trucking Show in Louisville, American Truck Historical Society Yearly Convention, Guilty by Association Truck Show in Joplin, and various other truck shows around the country. I also help out a few select companies with their recruiting and marketing efforts. As of the date of this recording, we are checking our camera inventory, getting batteries charged, and clearing off hard drives and memory cards as we gear up to head out to MATS, the Mid-America Trucking Show. I personally have been to MATS 4 times to create content, primarily out of my own pocket. This time, though, we caught the attention of show management, and they've hired my team and I to capture some specific targets as a trial run. I have full confidence that we will knock it out of the park for MATS, and will get a larger share of the workload for the next event. We were supposed to be providing this for the 2020 event, but in the wake of COVID, it, along with the 2021 event, were postponed. Now, it's time to get back to the show, see a few old friends, and make some new connections. If you see me or anyone from my team while at MATS, feel free to say howdy. Trucking has been a part of me for 3 decades now, and through all the ups and downs that this line of work can and will produce, it's overall been a good ride. We hope you subscribe to this program. We will have many entertaining and informative guests as we get this bad boy rolling. So come on, hitch a ride. Y'all be good, be cool, be careful wherever you may be. We'll see you out there on the big road.
Keep an ear out for them via the usual podcast players. Search the Big Road Podcast to subscribe. You can find the website for James Crowley's Texas Media Foundry audio-video business at thetexasmediafoundry.com. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with acoustic guitar and other additional support from Overdrive Extra contributing writer and trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. Podcast is backed up further by Overdrive News editor Matt Cole, social media coordinator Holly Young, and executive editor Alex Lockey. We'll see you next week.